So it's 9:01, and since we technically do not have official chairs at the moment, or we do not have chairs at the moment, I'll be leading this meeting today. There's nothing, we'll be taking official action on anything at the moment, but we'll be having some discussion about some important notes about ATAC throughout the meeting. So, yeah, so it's 9:02, we'll get this meeting started. Linda, please take the roll call, please. And if we're just a little bit differently from what we had done for BMAC and TMAC during the pandemic. For Linda, with our administrative staff, she'll be calling roll. And if you're on WebEx, just say, unmute yourself and say here, or present. So, Linda, go ahead.
Lyle Huffer. Cheryl Rogers. Lauren Simzik. Here. Erica Taft. Darcy Schipple.
She's very committed, very active.
Marcela Diaz-Wells.
And just real quick too, if you're here as an alternate for the primary member, say president and say your name.
It says that you're an alternate.
And say that you're the alternate too.
Patricia Franco.
Here.
Bill.
Bill's here.
Allison Hayward. Melanie Cawthorn. Carl Brattmiller.
Here.
Jeff Jordan.
Here.
Bert Pickle. Kari Kuamar. Sorry.
Here.
Robert Hanley.
Here.
J.D. Simpson. Here. Lydia Kelly. Here. Deborah Siobhan Robert Potter.
It's Deborah Sharvin. I'm the primary, and I'm here.
Oh, Ed Burgos Gomez.
All right. Thank you, Linda.
What's the form? Well, because we have two next.
Yeah, so we're not, so Robert just asked us a quorum, so today we won't worry about quorum exactly, since we won't be taking any official action. We'll be essentially making recommendations for the next meeting. Since, once again, we do not have a chair at the moment, but we'll be taking discussion today. So we'll be proceeding with that, and hopefully next month we'll have more folks going into the vacant spots to have a better view of that, what that quorum will look like.
Hello, my name's Mary Ellen Shuley. I'm the alternate for Kendall County, and I didn't hear my name called, but I'm here.
Okay. Thank you. We've got you marked now.
Hello. Hello, I'm Allison Hayward, and I'm the person for Northeastern Partnership.
Great. Thank you. Got you marked down too. Yeah. Okay. All right, so for citizens to be heard, we have one citizen to be heard. We have Lydia Kelly.
Surprise.
Do I speak now?
Maybe get close to the mic, possibly. Just to hear you.
Robert.
You tried to be away from me.
While we're getting set up over here, if y'all, since we're hopefully going to try to get off on a good start here, if y'all cannot hear us, just let us know in the chat or unmute and let us know. Thank you. Lydia, go ahead.
Joey?
I love Robert's, what he said, that doesn't surprise me, or something like that. Right? So Lydia Kelly, I'm representing Bike Texas. And I would like the city of San Antonio to please look at North Alamo, right where the new bicycle facilities are going in. It's been under construction for ages now. It was under construction when I left and went up to see my grandkids in May, and it's still under construction. The problem is that there's some big boards, and I understand that they're placed there so that at the bus stops, people can go across the boards to get on the bus. However, there's only one block that has barriers. And the other blocks, if a person rides their bicycle at night, they're going to get injured, very badly injured. The pieces of wood have a thin yellow line. It does not look like it's a reflective line. And if there had been barriers that had just been moved when I went by there, I would have put them in place. But there's at least 2 blocks, maybe 3 blocks without barriers. And I would like and appreciate if the city of San Antonio would take this really seriously and please get the barriers up there within the next 24 hours, just so no one gets hurt. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lydia. All right. Anybody else to be heard? We'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 3. And I see the chat box, you as well. Are you still having issues with the mute option or mute? Okay.
You just never raise your hand.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're having issues on mute, just go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll try to mute you from our end. Thank you. All right. Give me a second. I'll get the first presentation up. Just for reference, can y'all see the presentation view or the presenter view?
I can see it.
I figured out the mute.
Great.
And so I'm here. I didn't get to say I was here when you called my name. I'm here for Via.
Okay, great, thank you. And just for reference, can y'all see the just regular slide, or do y'all see the presenter view?
It's difficult to understand what you're saying. I'm sorry.
It's in presenter view.
Yeah.
If you see just a single slide.
No, it's in
Yeah,
presenter.
it's presenter, Joey.
I'm sorry?
It's the presenter view.
Okay, one second. Sorry, I was having issues with that. So just for reference, can y'all hoping to see the single slide, correct? Should see one slide on the screen?
Joey, we're still on presenter view.
Okay,
What's on the screen?
this is what's up here.
Oh.
Sorry, one second, y'all. Sorry, that's the next one.
October? And where? Oh, okay.
What's your name?
Linda.
Oh, Linda Franco.
Yeah, Linda. What's your name, Linda? What?
I'm sorry.
What's your name?
Linda.
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 Okay. Yeah, I've only been here since June 2010. That's your recording here. That was a few years ago, wasn't it?
But it's nice you stuck it out.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you
you see, there's been, Joey is the 4th person since she left as the PMAC coordinator. What's that, the old PMAC coordinators, I like her, the old.
Oh, yeah, I remember. We're talking about it.
Lydia. 2005. I second, I did that very important in life. This is the second that I get.
Okay, can you all see one side now?
Up a little.
Okay, fantastic. Sorry about that, thank y'all for bearing with me. Okay. So just to get everybody on the same page here and to get ATAC rolling here, we're going to have an overview on some of these things for ATAC. And just learn more about ATAC. If you haven't already reviewed the bylaws, we're going to go over some of the main points of ATAC here in this slide, on these slides. Sorry.
I like that it's ATAC, attack.
Okay, sorry about that.
Isn't that your middle name?
Okay, so now let's get into the item. We're going to talk about what is ATAC, highlight of bylaws and future focus areas. Just going to go around the room again to just introduce ATAC members. I know we went through roll call, but just we'll go over that in a minute. And just some housekeeping items, overview of important meeting elements of ATAC. So, what is ATAC? So the purpose, well, let's start with the purpose. So, we had a working group, EMAC working group that helped with the bylaws, and essentially these are straight from the bylaws. And so, ATAC will be considering technical policy, it will include consideration of technical policy and user experience issues related to active transportation mobility. So, a little bit of everything in between the advisory committee. They are the advisory committee to the NPO's technical advisory committee and the NPO's transportation policy board. If you're not familiar with their structure, Clifton will be going over a brief NPO 101 shortly. And also, ATAC is sort of a participatory role in NPO project calls. So if you're not familiar with some of our project calls, usually our transportation improvement project calls. For the past, BMAC and PMAC have helped with project scoring, helping develop the project scoring methodology, things like that, especially for the transportation alternative pot of money. And also, they serve as a participatory role in active transportation planning studies. So in the past, NPO has conducted various active transportation planning studies, including the bike-share master plan, our bike and pedestrian study, things of that nature. And then also, focus on accomplishing goals with a regional approach. So, talking about what that means, especially as, the NPO is the Bear County, Guadalupe, Comal, and Portion Kennewick counties. So, what does that mean for the entire region in terms of providing safer, more accommodating infrastructure and more for active transportation users? So, for a little background, prior to this, there was the Bicycle and Pedestrian Mobility Advisory Committees. There are two independent committees, and they were combined to create ATAC. And ATAC was formally approved or created on December 13th, 2021, following approval of the NPO's Transportation Policy Board. So as part of the NPO, as a part of the combination process of BMAC and PMAC, there was an 8-member BMAC-PMAC working group who were instrumental in helping NPO staff create a new set of bylaws for what would eventually become ATAC. And some of those members are still here today, and so we definitely appreciate all that hard work. It definitely helps create a better process with us all. I think we came out with again, great process and great end product at the very end. So, very excited about the entire process and ATAC now. So, in this discussion with the BMAC working group, we had a conversation about what exactly is active transportation. Because that can take different forms and it's defined differently by different folks. So I'll just read off this. So one thing we came up with was that active transportation refers to human-powered transportation and low-speed electronic assist devices. Examples include, but are not limited to walking, bicycles, electric bicycles, tricycles, scooters, electric scooters, wheelchairs, electric wheelchairs/scooters, skates, and skateboards. Active transportation is a critical component in developing and implementing sustainable community strategies, improving air quality, increasing public health, and making the region a more enjoyable place to live, work, and play. Active transportation is often a solution for the first mile and last mile people travel. So as for membership, so all of you who are here as members, we're super excited to have you participate as part of this process. And with that being said, the membership of ATAC, the working group tried to create a balanced membership with a goal of ensuring opportunity to participate and be a part of the discussion. So part of this, I had previously done research on other active transportation communities across the state and nation, and realized that some are really large and some took different shapes and forms, and we made a point to try to make sure that we had a good group of folks or a good number of folks who could still be able to participate easily in discussion and more. And of course, especially since BMAC and PMAC predated ATAC, we'll make sure we have a good representation of the cycling and pedestrian communities. And it's also composition of governmental agency and community organization representatives. And with that, there's also the introduction of co-chairs for ATAC. Previously, the structure was chair and vice chair. And currently, there are 23 members in ATAC as of today. So you might have to see some of this in your bylaws, but just I want to go over this too for the governmental membership composition and the community membership composition. So we include members from ACOG, Alamo Area Council of Government, Bear County is the alternate from Alamo Regional Mobility Authority, Comal County or local municipal representative, Guadalupe County or local municipal representative, City of Bernie, alternate from Kendall County, City of Brussels, City of San Antonio with one member from the Transportation Department and two from other departments, the City of Seguin, the San Antonio River Authority, TxDOT, San Antonio District, the Metropolitan Transit, the Advanced Transportation District, the Greater Bear County Council of Cities, the San Northeast Partnership as part of the governmental membership composition. And then for the community membership composition, that includes an organization representing people with disabilities, 2 bicycling organizations, 2 representatives representing the pedestrian and walking organizations, with at least 1 from a group representing vulnerable road users, 1 representative for the professional organizations, and then 1 representative for the shared micromobility provider. And again, those are for the community membership composition. So just for reference, if you haven't checked out our bylaws already, again, this important document that helps guide the function and role of ATAC, and also bylaws can be amended. So it's up to ATAC to see like what may need to be changed in the future. Could be membership structure, different focus, little things here and there. But this is something that can be amended in the future to serve the needs of ATAC and the NPO.
But Joey, all amendments still have to be approved by the TPA.
Yes, good point, Robert. So even ATAC wants to make an amendment, that does have to go through the process of going through ATAC, then also our technical advisory committee and our transportation policy board. So in the end, it does have to be approved by our policy board. And so some things we talked about last fall about the future focus of ATAC. I just want to bring this up again. Some things we talked about already or already doing. Some new things too. So there's a National Pedestrian Safety Month. That's in October of every year, and looking forward to getting more involved with that. There's also like lots of school days during that month. FHWA Pedestrian Focused Approach to Safety. We're currently working on that, and we'll have a small briefing later on this meeting. There's National Bike Month during the month of May. It happens every year during the month of May. National Walking Month too, Joe. It's National Walking Month in May? April, okay. I'll make sure to know that. I knew that, yeah. Also, again, folks, as I mentioned earlier, focusing on studies related to active transportation, whether it's, NPO coordinated or maybe working with another agency, for instance, like Transportation Also, focusing on active transportation education on infrastructure and safety. So just a few things, not solely limiting to these focus areas, but just a key point we focused on in the past and some things that we will continue to focus on in the future, in addition to other things as well. So, again, as some folks are new here, that'll be a great opportunity for folks to go around the room, or in this case, the virtual room, to introduce yourself. So since we do have a decent amount of folks here, keep it brief, just say your name, your position at the organization you're representing, and the name of the organization that you represent. So we'll keep it short and brief. Maybe we'll have another time so you can talk more about some of the things we're really interested in. We'll see that shine through in our discussions and whatnot. We'll go around the room, and we'll go around the room in the physical room here first, and then we'll go into the virtual WebEx room, and we'll start off over here with Bill.
Good morning, I'm Bill Hill. I'm the city manager at Chavano Park. I also am the representative for the Greater Bexar County Council of Cities. So there's, can't remember, 24, 28 cities. We meet quarterly, or actually every 2 months, as the Greater Bexar County Council of Cities. We get briefings from SAWS reps, from CPS reps, from the MPO, those kinds of things. And we haven't really filled that position lately, or it's been double filled, so we're now doing that.
Well, then there you go. We'll have staff too. Yeah.
My name is Linda Miralles. I'm with the NPO as an admin.
J.D. Simpson, I'm general manager for B-Cycle, and I'm representing the micro mobility provider.
Hey, my name is Eric Cavazos. I'm a transportation planner with the MPO.
Both Michelle, Director of San Antonio Office of Management, Michelle.
Lydia Kelly, I'm ex officio, and I'm a board member of Bike Texas.
Lauren Simpson, transportation planner for the city of New Braunfels.
Robert Hanley, I'm the past chairman of the Pedestrian Mobility Advisory Committee, and I'm an architect in San Antonio and filled a slot for professional.
All right, and I'll just introduce myself to Joey Pauling. I'm the active transportation planner here at the Alamo area PO, and since we're on the ATAC party, he's working with me a lot.
And I'm Clifton Hall. I'm interim transportation planning program manager here at the NPO.
And so I'll be going around here. I'll just call your name, and I'm going to go with our participant list here. And so again, same process, your name, position, and the name of the organization you represent. Allison Hayward.
Allison Hayward, City Council of Shirts, and I am representing the Northeastern Partnership, which consists of 11 cities northeast of San Antonio.
I'll go around everybody here. So, Carl Bressmiller.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Carl Bradmiller. I'm the San Antonio lead and a community educator with Gisala Cycling Initiative.
Christina Solozano.
Hi, I'm Christina, and I work with Gisala Cycle Initiative as a community educator.
David Bimperod.
Hi, everybody. My name is David Bemperod. I'm the Trails and Transportation Planner at the Great Springs Project and a planner at Activate SA.
And Debbie Sharman.
Hi, everyone. I'm Deborah Sharman with the City of San Antonio's Disability Access Office. I'm the ADA coordinator for the city, and we are an ex officio member.
Ed Burgos Gomez.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ed Burgos. I'm with the Federal Highway Administration, Texas Division Safety Engineer.
Yvonne De La Rosa.
All right, this is Yvonne De La Rosa, planner for TxDOT.
Jeff Jordan.
Hi, I'm Jeff Jordan. I'm the president of South Texas Off-Road Mountain Bikers, or STORM, and I'm representing a bicycling organization.
Jessica Brunson.
Jessica Brunson, planner at City of San Antonio.
John Bailey.
John Bailey, Natural Resources Defense Council, based in San Antonio. Good morning, guys. My name is Carrie Kulamora, and I'm the Executive Director of Activate SA.
Lyle Stettler.
Good morning, Lyle Huff-Stetler. I represent Alamo Area Council of Governments, or ACOG. I'm their Natural Resources Project Coordinator.
Mary Ellen Schul.
Hi, I'm Mary Ellen Shuley. I'm the Assistant County Engineer at Kendall County, and I'm the alternate for City of Bernie, Kendall County.
SD as well.
Hi, I'm Maricela Diaz Wells, Manager of Service Planning at Via Metropolitan Transit.
And Patricia Franco.
Hi, I'm Patricia Franco. I'm with Via Metropolitan Transit. I am a Strategic Planner 1, and I'm here representing the ATD.
All right. So welcome again, everybody. Good, I guess put some faces to names and also hear y'all speak and get to know you all as well.
Who's representing the city of San Antonio?
I'm here, Jessica Brunson.
Jessica?
Mm-hmm. And then I'm also here, it's Deborah Sharvin, but I am an ex officio, so I don't have a vote.
Okay. We're still waiting for City of San Antonio to have 2 other spots for other departments, and we're waiting to hear about those combinations. Who will be representing those spots?
You can show me the list of the vacancies. You sit next to it.
All right. Okay, so thank you all again. We're going to hop back to the main slides here.
Excuse me, Joy, may I
Yes.
ask you a question? The individual representing San Antonio, will you please take my concern back to the appropriate department about North Alamo?
Should be Public Works.
Jessica, Lydia Kelly just asked if you can just take her comment. She made her citizens to be heard, just back to the appropriate city department. In case you didn't hear that.
Yes, that project is under Public Works, and a person you can talk to, I can send you information afterwards if you send me an email. I'm at jessica.brunson@sanantonio.gov.
Okay, I'll give you her email.
Thank you, Jessica. All right, so we're going to move on here. So just some general housekeeping items here. One thing I just want to talk about is the Open Meetings Act. I know a lot of you folks have already completed the Open Meetings Act information or certification, so thanks for doing that. And all the previous members of VMAC and PMAC, I'll have already completed this, but IPO, like other public agencies, were subject to the Texas Open Meetings Act. So that means that all members must complete the appropriate training and provide an online course completion certificate to MTO staff. So if you haven't already heard from Linda, she contacted folks about this. Of course, within the appropriate timeline. And so primary and alternate members do have to complete this certification. So just a heads up on that, definitely a big important piece in that. And then alternate members. So every year as a primary member, you do have the opportunity to appoint an alternate member. This is fantastic because what if you're sick one day, you need somebody to take your spot, or you have another conflicting event. So you can appoint alternate to somebody from somebody from your same agency or entity to be there for you when you cannot be there. So recommend that be somebody who be reliable and help you out in situations, and of course be in close contact in case you do have to have that person sit in for you. And so it has to be, so in order for ATAC, there are votes involved sometimes. So if you or an alternate cannot make it or something happens, you cannot send somebody else in your place. You cannot say, hey, I'm going to send in this other person in my spot to vote today. It has to be somebody on our membership list, the roll call list. So it has to be either the primary or alternate member. So just general information, meeting access. So just to clarify some things too, during the pandemic, we switched to all virtual meetings, and then we started to do hybrid meetings. So we're going to have hybrid meetings from now on. So meetings can be accessed online or in person here at the MTO office. Unless that changes in the future, we'll let you know. But right now, we're meeting here at the MTO office in person, and you do have the option to join virtually. So these meetings are always open and accessible for anyone in the public to attend. And of course, we have citizens to be heard, a great opportunity to voice your concerns, especially for there's lots of folks on the committee who can probably help you out. So also just for reference, especially with this hybrid environment, when we do select co-chairs, one of the co-chairs will have to be present here at the NPO when we host meetings. Part of the Open Meetings Act, or it's part of those laws that govern those parts. So we will have somebody here, like NPO staff, and a chair at the physical location during meetings. So once again, yeah, these are open and accessible for anyone that's wanting to attend, and you can do that online or in person. So one of the topics of discussion we'll come to today is meeting time. So currently, ATAC set this first meeting, ATAC, we set ATAC for 9 a.m. today, which that's the second Wednesday, and it kind of falls along with the former BMAC schedule of the second Wednesday of the month at 9 a.m. So typically, all of our meetings happen on a recurring schedule, and so of course, ATAC, according to our bylaws, we're supposed to be meeting regularly and no less than quarterly, and before we move on to the discussion about the meeting times, we also host our walk and bike nights. And especially these walk and bike nights take a different shape in the past, whether it's briefings on projects or an opportunity to provide input on projects. In the pandemic, it kind of takes shape as a webinar type series, just because of the nature of the pandemic and going completely virtual. So it's more like an educational webinar series. And so the next one we scheduled in April. And we do plan to have a meeting in March, but with that, we want to hear some of your thoughts in terms of meeting time. If this is the appropriate meeting time for you, if it's how the time works, how it looks for you. You can post online, input your suggestions or thoughts in the chat box, or raise your hand. But yeah. We'd like to hear your feedback regarding the meeting times. If the second Wednesday of the month at 9 a.m. works for you, or if you really think we should have something else. Because with that being said, the walk and bike nights do serve the purpose of providing an evening opportunity for the public and ATAC members to get involved in a time outside of normal business hours.
I can offer a thought.
Yes.
When we had the TMAC meetings in the afternoon, that was very convenient for me.
Okay.
I have another meeting at 10 o'clock, it's a commission meeting every time in the city, and that's always on the schedule of the Wednesday at 10.
Okay.
So I know you changed it because of the TMAC membership, but I'm going to have a challenge.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the question I was going to ask, Joey, is that you're recommending the BMAC slot, and as Bert stated, PMAC, even when leaves, it was always Wednesdays at 3:30, third Wednesday of the month. And so I'm just wondering, as you proposed the second Wednesday morning, and is there another option so that all of the members and the people that are virtual can say, hey, here's your priorities, you got this slot or this slot, and then see what's preferable?
Sure. So we originally, I proposed second Wednesday at 9 a.m. It seemed like a decent time. I felt like a lot of folks could attend at PMAC time. And of course, like you said, the PMAC meeting time was the third Wednesday of the month at 3:30 p.m. And just for more reference on that, both of those fall between TAC, which is the first Friday of the month at 1:30 p.m. And then our policy board meetings are the fourth Monday of the month. So in the past, DMAC and PMAC fell between the TAC and the CQB. So just a little more information on that. We don't have a prescribed preference. We just went with this. It was a reasonable, easy time to schedule. We realized too that especially serving the larger MPO study area too, that either time can be good or bad for some folks, especially if they're commuting from say New Braunfels, Seguin, or Bernie, or other parts of the study area. So it could be difficult in the mornings or in the afternoon.
Afternoon's a little better though.
Afternoon's a little better.
Because you're not pressed to get back to work for the morning.
Yes, you can end your day with the meeting.
Hi, VIA has a regularly scheduled management meeting every second Wednesday of the month. It's between 9 and 11:30, so I wouldn't be able to make it at this time.
Okay.
Also, I'm having I can't hear very well, so I don't know if a hybrid meeting is the best solution for us meeting. I don't know if there's any solutions. Maybe we could all meet in person, or do one or the other, or have some headsets or something to help us hear a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. I appreciate that feedback, and I'm still working through that. We'll look more into that part, and peer staff, whether we can improve that. We'd like to provide that, but obviously we want to make sure that y'all can hear the meeting and still fully participate. So we're definitely taking that into consideration. We'll figure out some sort of solution. So thanks for that. Thanks for the feedback about VIA. Does anyone else have any other thoughts or comments about the meeting times? That's good feedback from some folks that in the afternoon do work better for them. What are some of the other folks online, or anybody else in the room? Any thoughts on this? Oh, yes, Lydia.
I think later in the afternoon is better for citizens to be heard. So if somebody wants to participate, they don't have to.
Okay. Good point. Good point too. Anybody else online? Any comments about the meeting time? And so if you didn't hear Lydia, I can help out that too. Lydia mentioned that afternoons can be good for citizens to be heard. With being a little bit later in the day, that could help with that. Does anybody else online have any comments or suggestions about the meeting time, whether it's maybe a meeting, early morning meeting, afternoon meeting, like in the 3:30 time frame, second and third Wednesday?
This is Allison Hayward. Early morning meetings work for me, but if we have to go to afternoon to accommodate other people, I can work with that.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
I would echo that. This is Patricia. 9 a.m. was fine for me. But if it does need to be in the afternoon, I can work with that too.
Okay. So maybe, I guess, we'll go with, since we were getting a lot of comments about Mac 3:30, we'll try out the 3:30 time frame next month, and we will go from there. Unless anyone else has any other comments about that.
The only other thing, Joey, that you might want to do is, because we do have a time frame before the March meeting, is put out the Survey Monkey thing. What's the preferred time, first, second, third choice? Give some options, and then you're going to have feedback from all of the members, and you can look at it. Understanding you're never going to get 100% turnout.
Definitely.
Joey, this real minor thought, as the virus subsides and we have the opportunity to walk face to face, we'll bring up the old topic, you have a limited amount of questions.
Yes. That's something we're actively looking into. We're looking into another option. Yes, and we're looking into another option for meeting space. We realize that, sometimes for BMAC or PMAC, it was kind of tight. And so that's something we're actively working and looking into in terms of looking at a long-term solution for that, especially with something that does have the audio and video component, because not only is that accessible for the members, it's also accessible for the public to tune in. So definitely trying to check all those boxes. So like I said, it may not be here at the NPO all the time, but trying to find something that's accessible.
Have a meeting at the same time as back-to-back one at some location too.
I'm sorry?
They should have an audit, at some location as well as committee. Anyway, just a thought.
Yeah, so
because we're a bigger committee now too than we were.
Yeah. So we'll checking into all those things, and part of our wrap up, we're talking about 3:30, but I'll set up a follow-up survey just to get folks' final opinion on that, and we will keep you updated on that information. So thank you all for your feedback on that topic right there. Appreciate it. Dr. Lowell? Okay. Sorry, still navigating hybrid environments here. Okay, so got that taken care of now. And so one thing we'll also have to consider, we can discuss it now, or maybe suggest a nominating committee or something in the short term. But one thing as part of the ATAC bylaws is there are 2 members that will be appointed to TAC. Currently, we have the former BMAC members, which are technically still kind of current for ATAC, but Elder Capricioso and Robert Hanley from BMAC and PMAC respectively served on TAC as the BMAC and PMAC representative. There'll be a similar shape in regard to, there'll be 2 representatives from ATAC on TAC. So that's something we'll be talking about. So if there's anybody who likes to serve in that capacity, we'd love to hear your thoughts. So again, I was trying to figure out how to best structure this, but something else we talked a little bit more about, like the infrastructure right back to ATAC. It's our technical advisory committee. That's a lot of folks who are also in our planning or engineering agencies across our region, and I guess there's a little more fine-grained details of the technical aspects of MPO planning and such matters. So that's another extra opportunity to get involved in the MPO process. And Robert, would you like to add any thoughts about or input about what that looks like in terms of serving on that as a representative of PMAC?
Yeah, real briefly, it's very heavy in the engineering and planning, but when we changed the bylaws 7 or 8 years ago to have a BMAC and a PMAC representative, and I can't speak for Elda, but it's a lot of times it's just going, but it's very important because TAC is who recommends, and they vote on the funding for whether it's added capacity, mass transit, bicycle or pedestrian. So it's a very good venue for pedestrian and bicycle input at the TAC level. And so it can get pretty tedious if you're not of the engineering mindset. But I think that my personal experience has been very valuable understanding the bigger picture of the MPO and what TAC does.
Thank you, Robert. So at this moment, is there anybody who is present who would be interested in serving in that capacity? We'd love to hear your thoughts on that. If not, like I said, we can come up with a nominating committee to help with this, because we do have the topic of the co-chairs later on too. Anybody else have any comments or thoughts?
Hey, Joey, it's Lyle. Just a quick question for clarification. So I currently serve on both TAC and this committee, not as a designated representative of this committee, just it happens that I'm serving on both. What we're doing now, what we're considering now is separate from my dual membership, right? So after this, we might have 3 people who serve on both committees.
Serving in like ATAC's capacity, individual on each committee. I mean, you carry a good perspective there, but I guess in this case, these will be direct representation from ATAC on TAC. But you could probably get a point there.
Yeah. Joey, my thought was when the BMAC and PMAC were originally appointed, it was either the chair or an alternate that represented BMAC and PMAC. And if there's somebody that's interested in serving on TAC from the ATAC committee, that's fine. But I think that one of those, a representative of the 2 that we have, should either be one of the co-chairs of the ATAC committee.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. That's it. One of the easy ways to maybe solve this discussion is maybe we can suggest the co-chairs serve on TAC. Good point, Robert. Anybody else have any thoughts on this? I know some person you still kind of very new information, so if not, maybe we can kind of table this and maybe approach it with having the co-chairs serve for now. All right, so I'm seeing, no other comments, I believe. So I'll just move on to the next and final slide for this part here. So again, we're open to feedback. Let us know how we can improve for functions of ATAC, better serve you as a committee, the NGO, the community at large. So let us know how we can improve either processes or other things like that. We do welcome feedback and make sure this all works great and a good process for everybody. So do welcome feedback and stay engaged. And if you have an agenda item you'd like to propose, we'd love to hear that. We do have item number 10, announcements of future agenda items. That's an opportunity to directly comment about any ideas for future agenda items you'd like to see on ATAC. And if you're new to ATAC, we do have our previous meeting information from BMAC and PMAC on the bottom of the ATAC webpage, so you can see what was on previous agendas. So future agenda items don't have to exactly be those agenda items. They can be other things too, but it also gives you an idea of what has been discussed in the past. So just want to drop that information there as well. Does anybody have any other questions or comments, or is everybody still processing all this information?
Good.
I'm just curious if the bylaws were online somewhere. If they were, I didn't see them in an email, but I could have missed it because I get 1,000 emails. But I was wondering if they were.
The bylaws are on the website. If you go to the Active Transportation Advisory or the Active Transportation Advisory Committee ATAC webpage on our website under our committees, you will find the bylaws there on the website.
Okay.
So I can send them to you. I think Christina looks like she dropped the link to the ATAC webpage on there. Thank you. So you can find the bylaws there.
Okay. Thank you.
Another question, Joey. I know we submitted our, VIA submitted its, alternates as of yesterday. Will we be able to, would you like us to forward those meetings to them, or, is there some easier way to get them, get that on their calendars?
Good question. So if I had not sent the meeting invite to them yesterday, whoever is on the committee, primary or alternate member, they will receive meeting invites and corresponding emails. So if you're a primary member or alternate member, you will receive all ATAC communications, whether it's calendar invites or other emails about the committee function.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, though. Thanks. Okay, so moving on to next one here, Cloven, queued up here.
That's right. Yeah. Cool. All right, thanks everybody. As I said earlier, I'm the interim transportation planning program manager, which is a mouthful, here at the NPO. And the presentation I'm going to give today, we call it NPO 101, but it's just an overview that we give to people who are new to the NPO, like if you get a new TPB or TAC member, we'll give this presentation to them, and we kind of do it as requested. So after the presentation, don't scare you off. You can invite me to present to your organization to give an idea of what the NPO is. I know it's a fun task to try to explain to my friends and family what I do for a living. So, but this should give us all a good idea. So this is going to be a kind of an abbreviated version of the presentation I usually give. So we'll go ahead and get started. So what we'll talk about today is what AMPO is all about, the required NPO documents that we produce on a regular schedule, which is the most important task that we do. Briefly go over some other funding requirements and programs. Then I'm going to overview our FY 23 through 26 project calls, which is something that BMAC and PMAC both contributed to. So an NPO is a federally mandated agency that guides regional transportation planning, and it was designed by the federal government to help distribute federal dollars to local governments and give them an opportunity to provide input on where federal money was being spent in their region. The MPO also administers programs that improve mobility, air quality, and safety. And as Joey mentioned before, it's guided by our Transportation Policy Board. So in a way, they're kind of technically the MPO, but we're their staff, and we do a lot of the work that goes into everything. But they provide that policy and advisory role to steer the MPO in the direction we need to go. So that board is made up of elected and some higher level, executive level appointed officials. Our study area, as you can see, this graphic includes Bear, Comal, and Guadalupe counties, and then the southern portion of Kendall County. That expansion was pretty recent. It was about 5 or 6 years ago, I believe. And right now we have 2.2 million residents, 10,000 lane miles of roadways, and 51 million miles traveled every day. We're working on our draft 2050 plan right now, and so looking at those demographics, our region is going to grow really drastically to 4.3 million residents, about 12,500 lane miles, which is as big of an increase, and about 96 million miles traveled daily. And you can see in our outer counties in Kendall, Comal, and Guadalupe, the population's at least doubling, in some cases tripling, in those areas. And so, you all know Texas is growing just astronomically right now, and will continue to do so in the future. And even in Bear County, there's going to be a 60% increase in population. So, we put a lot of work into planning to make sure that our transportation infrastructure is able to keep up with that growth as best we can. So part of the federal legislation that mandates MPOs talks about something called the 3C planning process. The first C is cooperative, so no single agency is responsible for our entire transportation system. We have a ton of local partners that own streets, and obviously work with Textile a lot, but then we also work directly with VIA to provide transit services to the region, comprehensive in that it encompasses all transportation modes, and we have a representative of each of those modes within the metropolitan region, and continuous, meaning that it's an ongoing process, and we really work in 2- and 4-year cycles to update our short-term plan and our long-term plan, and so we're always working on updating those processes or updating our programs and policies to match those the plans that we make. So looking at our committee structure, I already talked briefly about the Transportation Policy Board. That includes an executive committee, which is 9 members, and that kind of meets on important issues that we'll take to vote for TPB, such as approving a new plan, the results of our project call with the executive committee. But that kind of is up to the chairman of TPB to determine that. And then under that, we have the Technical Advisory Committee, so kind of similar composition to the Transportation Policy Board, but the people who make up TAC membership are usually staff level planners and engineers from our various regional governments in the area and TxDOT. A new effort that we're developing is our Project Readiness Work Group. So as we grow as a region, we're growing as an agency in our abilities, and so one of the things that we want to focus on in the coming years is making sure that projects that we program in our short-range plan are ready to go once they're programmed and they're on the right track at development before they go to construction, because there's been instances of MPOs across the country and even some in Texas losing funding because projects weren't as ready as they thought they were when they were put into the short-range plan. So that's a cool effort we're working on. And then our newly formed ATAC, which Joey has done a great job standing up in the past few months, 22 members, and then we'll see about the meeting date, I guess, but 23 members, so growing, it's great. So you all know all about ATAC, so I won't belabor that too much. We also have a few committees below that kind of meet on a as-needed basis, and sometimes they meet to support a study or a new plan effort. So we have a Land Use and Thoroughfare Subcommittee, Freight Rail and Transit Subcommittee, PISMO and SAM, which is Transportation Systems Management and Operations / Traffic Incident Management, so traffic operations, and then a Travel Demand Management Committee that meets, I think, quarterly, and I know Eric's working on reconvening that group in the future to tackle some issues. So this is just a really quick roster of our policy board members, and so the seats are kind of distributed by population. roughly, and these are part of the TPB bylaws. There's a pretty similar distribution for TAC, and less so in ATAC with y'all's special mission. A little bit more diversity there, but yeah, so our top three, I guess, members in TPB, not that everybody, it's kind of first among equals type of thing, but our chairman is Commissioner Kevin Webb from Comal County. The chair-elect, who will be the chairman here in a few years, or chairwoman, I should say, is Councilwoman Melissa Cabello-Harvada from the city of San Antonio, and then the first vice chair is Commissioner Rebecca Clay Flores from Bexar County. So those two will rotate into the chairmanship eventually. One thing to note is that the chairmanship rotates and the other subsequent positions rotate through the outer counties, so outside of Bexar County, the city of San Antonio, and then a Bexar County representative. So that could be a GBCC or Northeast Partnership in that slot, but then one person from the city and then one person from those outer counties, if that makes sense, to make sure that the chairmanship rotates through our different areas of the region regularly. Moving on to our documents that we produce as an MPO, this is really kind of the backbone of what we do as an MPO. We do a lot of other programming. It's very important that this is why we're here, really. So talk about these 4 documents real quick. Our Unified Planning Work Program, our Metropolitan Transportation Plan, Transportation Improvement Program, and Transportation Conformity Document. So the UPWP is basically our MPO staff budget. Everything we do as an MPO staff is programmed into this UPWP within a 2-year time frame. And so our last one was adopted last June, so that will cover this fiscal year and next fiscal year. And it includes just an overview and budget of our basic planning activities that we get federal dollars for, but it also kind of houses the authorization for some planning studies, so no construction projects or ongoing programs necessarily, but planning type work. So some of the new studies we've had this time are resiliency, curb management, and freight. And so another resiliency RFP went out, curb management might go out next year, and freight will probably go out later this year. So those are exciting things we get to work on. We usually do RFPs for those and use consultants to help us do that work. And here's some examples of other UPW studies we've done throughout the past few years. We had a regional bike and ped study in 2016, a transit study in New Braunfels last year that wrapped up, and we're currently wrapping up a sub-regional study in the Northeast area that should be finished soon. I think we're presenting a TPB next month on that, so the final report. So all kinds of interesting things, and so if there are ideas of what kind of studies you perform during that UPWP development process, this group can come up with ideas for other things we might want to perform. But yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
looking at all these studies you've done, but there was one that was done in 13, which was really a major study, and it was the Pedestrian Safety Action Plan.
Okay.
And I'm just curious why that's not on there.
This only goes back to 2016.
Yeah, I see that.
That's the only reason.
But that was a major thing. It took a year and a half to develop and get that out, and it was about templates or models for how to improve pedestrian safety. You remember that, don't you, Lydia?
Mm-hmm. That's good. Yeah, I know sometimes those plans come from federal and state efforts. So if we're interested in doing something like that again, I know Joey might have some other information about something FHWA is working on with us.
I don't remember where the funding came from that study, but it was the people that did it did the template for the Federal Highway Administration's pedestrian safety action.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was a group out of Seattle, I believe, Lydia, or Portland, somewhere in there. Yeah, anyway, that was, in my opinion, that was a major study, and probably if you're going to list studies, I also wonder, should we dust that off and update it?
Yeah, it probably should.
But can I make a comment too about all those wonderful studies that cost loads of money that 9 times out of 10, maybe not, that's horrible, 50% of the time go on a shelf, and then they don't get looked at until they're so old that they have to be redone and more money spent. If we could find some way, now that you are a combined committee, maybe have on the agenda every once in a while, look at the most recent studies and see if they're being utilized by the different organizations like the city, the county, the state, Just a suggestion.
Just in case y'all, weren't able to hear all of what Lydia said, just what she mentioned is talking about making sure that studies are effective and make sure that they're not just sitting on the shelf and seeing, you know, if they're being used and what capacity they're being used, so things like that. So, and also Robert had talked about potential big action plan and also possibly revisiting plans like that in the future for ATAC. So it could be a great agenda item.
Yeah, I understand that. That comment is definitely something that I think everybody in this world worries about, is that, you know, if we do this big study, it might not get used. So using the study and the study, I guess the study not being used doesn't make it a bad study. So we've done a lot of great studies in the recent years, and, you know, a lot of these do end up informing our project.
That's why when that study was getting ready to be released and go to the city tried to kill it. And we had to sit there and meet with, we met some of the MPO people and some of us on the committee to say, hey, they were afraid by using an example or a template that this is the problem here in the city of San Antonio, that they were liable. We came to an agreement, and we identified some that were probably more damning than others. We got it approved, and it was submitted, and as a matter of fact, we distributed to county and the city officials that were elected. So that's always part of the process. As Lydia well knows, you do a study and it sits on the shelf, but you know, some of these probably are worth, Clifton, having an update if they're old, and to see how we can bring those back into the public light.
Yeah. And that's, I think, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's part of the, you know, purpose of this committee is to make those recommendations to TAC and TPB of like what we want to see change as far as active transportation goes. So those are all good comments. Again, I mentioned the sub-regional planning study, so another study that was done was the Capital Alamo connection study, and so this was a refinement of implementation efforts for that. So we've been working on this with WSP, RXNH has been our consultant on this, and done some really great work going over the projects in this sub-region of our planning area, and so this is finishing up right now. And then Joel Hicks from the Northeast Partnership has been participating quite a bit on this study. Moving on to kind of our bread and butter is the MTP. So the MTP is a long-range plan that covers 25 years. Like I mentioned earlier, our plan working now goes to the year 2050. So, but it usually covers a 20 to 25-year time span. What it does is it looks at current trends in population, jobs, household size and income, mode choice, and more in our region, and projects those out into the future. Typically the way that's done is taking what the current trends are and looking at demography data, you know, data that was showed earlier showing how much our region is going to grow, and land use patterns that are emerging. This last time we actually used kind of a group cohort method where we met with developers and, you know, engineers and stakeholders throughout the entire region to pick their brain on where development would happen. So there's different models that go into that, but our demographics were developed in 2020, and we kind of made amends for how that was affected by the coronavirus pandemic. And so right now we're in the modeling phase of that. But, you know, the plan also contains vision and goals that help guide decisions about what projects we fund, what our values are, and kind of provides high-level guidance to MPO for how we're supposed to conduct our business. So again, Mobility 2050 is being developed right now. I mentioned the updated demographics and vision and goals. Something cool we're working on now in a draft form is a digital story map, which is basically a dynamic web-based map that also shares information and graphics. And as you scroll down, it develops, it scrolls up different information and different things pop up and multiple windows showing maps that you can interact with. So we're really excited about that. And that'll kind of act as a companion to our executive summary of the plan. And then we'll also overview collaboration and public involvement. The plan really kind of captures what we've been working on as a region in the past 5 years. And so that kind of tradition will continue for this plan.
How often is it developed?
So now that, yeah, it's a good question. So federal law requires it every 5 years, but since we're non-attainment in air quality, it's every 4 years. And so this planning cycle has been, at least the MTP portion of the planning cycle has been shorter, so we can get on a 2 and 4 year schedule instead of every 5 years. So we're kind of a little bit early for 2050. It'll pay off in the next 4 years for sure. Our next big plan is the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program. So it is a 4 year plan, and it really acts as a budget for construction projects in our region. It helps us set a budget of the federal dollars that we receive through TxDOT from the federal government. And these projects actually have construction dollars tied to them. Sometimes you'll see engineering or right-of-way acquisition phases in the TIP, but those are not from federal dollars. It's usually state money. Right now, the MPO doesn't fund project development costs, so there's very few of those. But yeah, anything in the TIP will have an actual construction timeline attached to it. We develop the TIP cooperatively every 2 years. So again, another federal requirement that it's every 2 years. And most of the time, not every TIP update cycle, we'll do a project call, which is a competitive process to add local projects to the TIP. And we also program a few projects based on the financial numbers we receive from TxDOT. They might get programmed 2 years out of the TIP. So that's also a policy that we have. Yes, sir.
We have the historical data that's here. On the TIP programs, what percent of the projects that are requested funding get funding?
This last time it was about 50%.
Yeah.
So
that's important for the MPO 101 engine. They're not all funded.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to talk more about the project call later, since that's a good topic for this group, since they participated in the last call. But yeah, about 50% are funded, and then the rest usually go into the MCP. This is what we call an unfunded project. So the unfunded projects, let's revisit every 4 years. And I think in the future we'll do a little bit more as far as, examining what we can do with the funded and unfunded projects in the TIP. But again, kind of like everything we do, the TIP is led by the MCP, so those vision and values kind of trickle down to the TIP selection process and project programming. So again, every quarter we have in coordination with TxDOT, they have a statewide transportation improvement program. So our schedule kind of aligns with theirs, but TIP projects can be amended quarterly, change the scope of work, reflect the new project costs, show the distribution and the funding categories that TxDOT sets up for projects and for funding, changes to the phase of work, project limits, and then of course adding or deleting. So we're looking at projects received from cities and counties and TxDOT, and any changes that need to be made go through a process. So these are the funding categories I was talking about with TxDOT. The ones outlined in red are kind of referred to as MPO funds, so we get more discretion in how those are spent. That's a big reason why MPOs exist, is to determine how these monies are spent. And so these align really closely with federal programs, including the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Improvement Program, the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program, and Transportation Alternatives. A big assistance this committee provided was helping select projects for Category 9 Transportation Alternatives funding, which is committed to bike and pedestrian projects. Category 7 is our biggest funding source, and it is Surface Transportation Block Grant. And then Category 5 is CMAQ, which we receive for being non-attendant. What kind of projects do you find in the TIP and MCP? FM 1103, new traffic signals and new bridge. We have the TxDOT Hero program. You've probably seen these trucks on the roadway. These help assist stranded motorists and help clear incidents before the police get there. Or they coordinate with police really to remove the incident and provide a blocking service so that it's safer for police and fire to clear the accident scene. Some bike lanes on Main Street in Soledad, the roundabout at San Pedro and Navarro, the Brooks Transit Center with Primo service on Military Drive, and then the expansion of IH-10 on the northwest side of Fair County, including our region's first HOV lanes. So just a short sample of recent projects constructed using the TIP. Okay, transportation conformity document. Since we are air quality non-attainment in Bexar County only, we have to do a transportation conformity determination, which is housed in this document, and it makes sure that federally funded and regionally significant projects and our short and long range plans are consistent with our air quality goals. And so we are moderate non-attainment, or nowhere marginal non-attainment. So we have a pretty simple test to make sure that we don't exceed our baseline emissions by too much. We've been non-attainment in Bexar County since 2018. And so these three monitors, based on it's kind of a complicated formula, but based on an 8-hour average across the year, one of those top three values is factored into the reporting what the design value for air quality is. And so our three monitors are kind of scattered throughout Bexar County, as you can see there. And we've been really close to being in attainment, really since we've been tracking air quality in the region. But it seems like we've been trending high enough now that we'll be reclassified to moderate non-attainment this year, but we're waiting on that to come down from the federal government officially. So we're not sure exactly when that will happen. We're expecting it this calendar year. And so how we determine conformity, if we're conforming or not, is to take the model outputs from our travel demand model, which is a normal part of the MTP process, and we run those through another model that produces an emissions analysis to determine how much emissions will be produced by those on-road sources, so cars and trucks. And then the results are analyzed. Yes. Go ahead.
You mentioned we're in marginal non-attainment, and I'm sorry if I missed this. Are we in marginal non-attainment only for the ozone, or is it for ozone and particulate matter, or?
No, so that's a good question. So we're marginal non-attainment for ozone, ground level ozone, and so
ground level ozone.
Yeah, and then
My next question is: I mean, it's been a long time, but is it for an 8-hour standard, or is it for the 1-hour standard, or what applies for that?
Yeah, I think it's the 8-hour, the 2015 8-hour standard. Yeah, if I remember correctly. So.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, not much. Yeah, so, you know, the idea isn't to get into attainment, but it is to get into conformity so that we're on the right track. And so I'll quickly cover our 2023 through 2026 tip call for projects. This covers the three funding sources I mentioned earlier: CMAQ, SCBG, and TA. As you can see, SCBG is very flexible, TA is very inflexible, and CMAQ can only be used for non-capacity projects and for construction projects in Bexar County. This is our MPO study area. We offered this funding to all of our study area except for CMAQ, which can only be used in Bexar County by law. We had a working group of the ATAC that met and developed a scoring process with MPO staff, and then we eventually met to score and to select these projects based on their technical scores that we developed, project readiness, agency priority, and the public input we did last summer. So these all kind of combined to help us select projects. And this was preceded by a BMAC and PMAC work group meeting recommending bike bed projects for TA funding. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead, in the interest of time, I'm going to skip these over, but this will be included in your packet. But I'll talk quickly about transportation alternatives. So there was a few non-transportation alternatives projects that were bike bed projects that were selected for other funding. Through the BMAC and PMAC, we developed a bike bed specific criteria for these TA projects. And so 9 projects were originally selected by the BMAC PMAC working group, and then the TAC working group ended up moving one of those to SCBG. So 8 projects total received TA funding, and we're really excited about those projects. And so right now we're kind of halfway through the process. This is really the kind of crunch time of the process because we're doing that travel demand modeling with our travel demand model, and once that's complete, we'll do the emissions analysis, and then we'll take the final draft plan, TIP and TCD, to the public, and it'll actually be April to May.
When did you call for the project end?
It ended
April 2021.
Yeah. Florida was there. She was through it. Yeah.
May I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Of those projects that moved forward, you said there were 8 that moved forward. How many of those are standalone bicycle and or pedestrian?
So for transportation alternatives, all of them were.
You're all standing there.
Yep. Yeah, that's the beauty of TA funding. That's all we can use it for. So, but yeah, we'll take that for action to TAC and CPB, information and action in May and June, and then we'll work with our partners at the federal, state, and local government to review the results of conformity to have our determination, hopefully by September. And then if that happens, our documents will go into effect in October with the start of the fiscal year 2023. So that's all I have. If there's any questions, you can email me or call me at the information here. And then if you would like to receive an MPO 101 presentation for your staff, just let me know. All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you, Clifton.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. I was just asking what Dr. Alamo
Okay.
Okay. All right, so folks, in the interest of time, I know we only have 10 minutes left on our meeting time, so I'm going to go over items number 5 and 6. We're going to table 7 and 8. And the agenda packet, or the agenda packet, there's some information about items 7 and 8. We're going to have those presented next month by respective agencies responsible for those. But I'll be going over items number 5 and 6 right now in the interest of time. Hopefully I can finish, and I'll probably be sending out information about item number 9 later. So. Okay, so one important function of ATAC, we are going to need co-chairs. So according to the bylaws, every 2 years, the ATAC will elect 2 co-chairs from its membership, so they'll serve a 2-year term. The co-chairs will be elected by a majority of the members present at a meeting, so that means that there must be a quorum at the meeting. And then one co-chair will represent the cycling or micromobility community, and one co-chair will represent the pedestrian community. But these can come from governmental representatives or community representatives in this case. And the co-chairs will alternate leading ATAC meetings. So as for the process, we can accept nominations from the floor at today's meeting. I know we're short on time, so we can definitely, if you're interested in one of the co-chair positions, please let us know. If not, there's the other option, which I think we might have to do, is establish a nominating committee to make a recommendation on the positions, at the next meeting in March, where's the year going already? So I guess, is anybody here interested in serving as a co-chair at the moment? I see Robert's hand up. Robert, I think you're interested? Yep. Okay. Robert Hanley is interested in co-chair position, I assume, in respect to the pedestrian focus?
Yeah, because I have not been on the bicycle.
Yeah, so in reference to Robert was the most recent chair for PMAC, and so he's nominating himself to serve as the co-chair representing the pedestrian side. Is there anyone else here in the room or on the call who's interested in either co-chair position or especially in regards to the cycling focus? If not,
unfortunately, having to serve as an alternate on the TAC already, I think it would be hard to juggle both.
Okay, definitely.
So I would love for Carl to think about it, or Jeff Jordan to think about it, or the individual from, I forgot the name of the organization. Darn it. Shane.
Okay.
The other, Active
SA?
yes.
Okay. So Lydia is nominating either Jeff Jordan with Storm, Carl Brackmiller with Solid Cycling Initiative, or Carrie Kuamura with Activate SA.
So those were also some considerations. Does anybody have any other comments at this time? I'm going to check the chat box to see if there's anything here at the moment. Not, gosh, sorry. Use this once again. Okay, so I guess we'll come back and revisit this. If not, I'll call a nominating committee to revisit this. But sounds like we have a nomination for Robert for the co-chair position for the the pedestrian focus side, and then so that was a self-nomination. Then Lydia is nominating Jeff Jordan with Storm, Carl Brett Miller with Just Fall Cycling Initiative, or Carrie Kumura with ACTA.
If they want.
As she said, only if I want to, of course. So we'll talk more about that later on. So in the interest of time, we only have 8 minutes left. So a fun part of this right now, we have we need a logo to represent ATAC. So in the past, we've had logos for BMAC and PMAC, and our fantastic graphic designer came up with some of these logos, and our focus is trying to get something that would represent ATAC in general, at least like can show like, okay, what does this tell? So obviously that's where some of these stick figures came into place, and we'd like your help in terms of choosing a logo for ATAC. And if you're on BMAC and PMAC last fall, we would do this. We would use the Mentimeter polling feature, and so we're going to use this again. So we'd like your input on either of the 3 options. If anybody has any questions about these, I'd like to hear those now. But if not, we'd like to take a poll for folks to let us know which logo they think would be the best fit.
We give a recommendation for a change in the logo, like vote for one and then maybe recommend a change.
I'm sorry?
I was just curious if there's still time or room to make any adjustments to the logos.
Yes, I see that. Yeah, I see that there. Yeah, there's some misspelled parts there. So yeah, we'll make those corrections. Double check that. Our sincere apologies. We'll make sure that's corrected. Is that what you're referring to?
No, I would just had an idea, and so I'm just curious if these are the 3 on the table, or if we can make suggestions to edit or make improvements to what you presented, is what I'm saying.
I guess for the interest of time, this is what we're going with. I guess, did you have like a minor suggestion for, I guess, one of the 3?
I think they're all 3 too busy. That's just my opinion. And I haven't been on either one of the committees, but it doesn't, number 3 didn't tell me. The figureheads are too small. Number 2 is, I'm not sure what that is.
You like zoom into them?
One's a little bit clearer because you got pictures. I like pictures.
Okay. So are there any other thoughts or discussion? Any other comments?
So I like how option 1 has some consistency with the PO logo. Since that has a lot of figurettes to represent the different modes, this seems to almost be like a sister logo. So I'm a fan. I also like option 2 for its stately kind of vibe.
Thank you all for those comments. Marcella, did you say, I guess, what was your comment or I guess suggestion?
I was I really like option 3, but I think the little stick figures are they're not clearly discernible. So I would probably replace the red dashes with the little figures. I would make the red marks the figures that are sort of jumping off of the letters. That's what I would do. I don't know. But
Okay, so maybe option 3 with some like revisions.
Yeah, that's my thought. That's why I was curious. And I'm okay. I mean, I'm not, I like it
Okay.
anyway. I'm gonna vote for it, but I just thought it
So it
might
sounds
be.
like there are some folks leaning towards some of these. I guess maybe some of them are not the most perfect option, but are most of y'all okay with what's being presented so far?
Yes,
At least,
and yes, and I like option one. I just don't like the light blue. It's hard to see what that is.
Okay.
But I like option one because it gives you what it actually stands for. So the option three, the little figures, they just look like something sticking out of the letters. You can't really make it out.
That's what we're here for. We love the feedback. So thank y'all for all of your feedback. Appreciate it. So if you're not already participating in the poll, go ahead and participate in the poll. I'm going to pull up the results and see where we're at. So it looks like number one is in the lead, and we're taking. Well, if we go with that one, we'll make the revisions, obviously, with the spelling and maybe some slight color changes. So we will definitely.
Can you bring back next, I mean, it's not a hurry to do this. Can you bring back an option one that's the figure that puts these figures below it, instead of above it, similar to the MPO? I'm just looking at the MPO thing now. And maybe do away with the boxes. Just have figures. The figures stand out with the boxes. If you take the boxes out, they're not going to be as discernible unless they're black. Okay.
So either way, we're trying to get your feedback in terms of what's the most favorable option. We'll take this feedback to our graphic designer, and either way, we have to get an approval at your next meeting, hopefully once we have a chair, because we can't actually make any formal approvals at this meeting. So we're going to take all your recommendations and hopefully bring back a product that you're all excited and happy with. So we'll make that sure.
On these options right now that presented in the vote,
yes.
How many of those people, what does that represent, numbers of votes? 8, I see it.
Yes.
I still have numbers.
I haven't voted yet, but I would vote for number one. This is Patricia.
Okay.
I haven't voted, and I would vote for one.
So, I guess if you haven't voted, you can maybe cast your vote real quick. We can have that formal input there. Or coming close to the end of our time here. So just to wrap that up, thank you all for participating. And again, I'll go back to this one last chance to cast your votes. And I'm going to move on to go to announcements and future agenda items. I know we're like at the very end of the meeting here. So thank you all for, joining us this morning for our ATAC, our first ATAC meeting. Still obviously navigating some technical difficulties here and there. As mentioned before, we're looking into maybe other options as well for maybe meeting location or hybrid options. So looking into that, we do want to hear any announcements, if anybody has any. As for, announcements, start off with the MPO. There's one thing we didn't get to, that's bike month activities. So as I mentioned before, that happens every May. We're going to have a planning meeting this Friday morning at 9:30 a.m. I'll send out that all information after this meeting, and including that presentation that we're supposed to give for bike month. But essentially, that bike month meeting will have information about how to get involved in Bike to Work Days, MPO's main event for bike month. But also, we want to hear from other folks about what they're planning for bike month. Also, we talk about things like our Bike Month Challenge and other things going on. So that's happening on Friday at 9:30. We'll be talking about that. Also have a street skills class later this month. I believe that's on the 17th. More details on that later. Does anybody in the room have any announcements? At the time. Okay, online, does anybody have any announcements?
This is our announcement, but you all review safety stats, like how many pedestrian and bike accidents in the last month, the last quarter, the last year? Shouldn't that be done every
quarter? Yeah. So we can,
think about it in the paper and everyone, there's so many people dying and getting hit.
That's a good point, Bill. That's one of our focuses we've talked about, approaching is like safety information. So that does include crash information. Obviously, that is a very huge topic right now. Texas alone is has one of the highest increases. Well, year to year, like last year's numbers for the state of Texas, we had the highest crash numbers in years. And MPO did have an increase as well. So that's something we can definitely bring up at a future, as a future agenda item. So thank you for bringing that up. Definitely one of the things we do want to be talking about in ATAC. Does anybody else have any other announcements or future agenda items they'd like to propose? We've heard a few today, and we'll be considering those.
I was wondering, are we trying, our intention is to meet monthly, is that correct? Or is it quarterly? I heard quarterly somewhere along the way.
The intention is to be, like, more than likely monthly. We'll be meeting next month, and then in April, we'll be having a walk and bike night, so we won't have a formal meeting in April.
I'm just wondering if we...
state that we should meet no less than quarterly, if that was the case.
I was wondering if we should consider a longer meeting if we're going to meet less infrequently. So maybe an hour and a half.
Our meetings are scheduled for an hour and a half, but I guess we can look at that option as well in terms of what that meeting time looks like and how we're using that time.
If we're doing quarterly at any point. So just a thought. And then I wanted to thank you too. I thought this was a great INDOC. So I appreciate the time you put into it.
Definitely. We'll take another look at that. Yes. Okay.
May I?
Yes, Lydia.
I just want to suggest to everyone that you go to biketexas.org, please, and check out Texas Trails and Active Transportation Conference. That's happening this year, April 27th through the 29th. Thank you very much.
Joy, I sent you an email, but I think I'd like to see a funding 101 briefing. What are the funding sources? And then I'd like to see the bike and pedestrian priorities of the MTP, as well as what's been budgeted for pedestrian bikes for the TIP. And I think those, because ultimately, I don't know what the committee's actionable items are. It's all about budgets and money and where it is the priorities. So we don't even know where we are to start with, and next year review it frequently. And then coming up with strategies to figure out how you're going to fund it in the next year, 5, 10, something like that.
Definitely. Good points to focus on, our bread and butter, the MPO, talking about funding sources and bike ped priorities. So we'll, talk about that, clear that into the next upcoming agenda items. Thanks for bringing that up too, Bill. Lydia brought up the Texas Trails and Active Transportation Conference from Bike Texas. Jeff Jordan included that link in the chat box too. In the interest of time, does anybody have any other announcements or comments? Just in knowing of relative events, I know Ciclovia, I think, is happening March 27th here in San Antonio.
Yes, we have the new Brussels version of Ciclovia, Cycloviva, which I get a kick out of, but that's going to be April 10th from 1 to 4 p.m. So we'll probably tell you more details next time we meet.
Can we get an updated list of membership with email and contact information? I'd like to contact the San Antonio rep. They've got $28 million of sidewalks and pedestrian improvements in the bond that's coming up. I don't know how we're linked in on that, et cetera.
Sure, definitely. We'll provide you with that information. Awesome. So, not seeing any other comments. So just recap there too. Lauren brought up that New Braunfels is having their Cycloviva April 10th. Bill is asking for more details on all the members, maybe specifically on the city of San Antonio and their bonds, and especially so we can talk about their bonds. So a couple of things there. Not seeing any other comments in the chat box. Looks like we'll go ahead and close our meeting at 10:36. Once again, thank you all for attending this morning. And if you have any other feedback for us, please let me know, especially this is our first meeting. We'll make sure we can improve and be the best we can. So let me know how we can improve too. So thank you all for attending, and we'll see y'all next month. So that'll probably be, I'll send out a survey, so we'll finalize the date, but yeah, I'll keep us to date with y'all. So thank y'all again. Have a great day.
Thanks for keeping Bike Texas on as an